post office. How did that make you feel?
I was terrified, absolutely terrified,
Okay.
because I'm a single person and it's my income that takes care of my bills.
Right.
And so when you did call me back, I cried.
Welcome to the Back to Work Melbourne podcast, where Dr. Dorfman is your federal workers' comp OWCP expert in Brevard County, Florida. In this podcast, you'll hear tips and tricks about the OWCP process, along with heartfelt patient testimonials from those we've helped get their claims approved. Tune in each week for insightful advice and inspiring stories that will guide you through your journey.
Good morning, Christine.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm good.
So you're on our podcast. We're here in Melbourne, Florida, in our Melbourne office. Let's get right into the podcast today. So when did we meet you?
Probably about 3 days after my fall.
Okay. And you work for?
I work for the United States Postal Service
And how long have you been there?
since 2018.
Okay. So tell us what happened.
I was delivering a package to a customer's front door, and it had been raining that day. As I was walking up to their front door, they had tile all the way up, and holding the package in my hand, both feet went right out from under me. I landed straight down, and then my head flew back into the tile, and I did black out for probably a few seconds. When I came to, I got up, crawled off the tile so I wouldn't fall again, got into my truck and called the supervisor.
And that sounds like a nasty fall.
Yes.
Completely not your fault, working for the post office. When you contacted your supervisor, what did they say?
They wanted to come right out before they called any medical help or anything. They ended up by talking me into calling 911. They came out with the ambulance and took me to the emergency room.
Okay. What did they find at the emergency room?
They said it was a sprain because all they were able to do was a quick x-ray.
Okay. And then after your visit to the ER, where did you go?
They said that I needed to just go get checked
Okay.
by a doctor.
Okay.
So I talked to my regular primary, and they would not touch me because it's workman's comp
Sure, like most
associated.
doctors.
Right.
And it's not like they don't want to treat you as a person, but they just know the paperwork headache for the other 99% of doctors' offices. It is a headache because they don't know how to do it. It's not a headache for us, but it's a headache for everybody else.
Absolutely.
So even though we're right here in Melbourne, your supervisor didn't say, oh, go see Dr. Dorfman because he treats federal workers.
No, as a matter of fact, they were not helpful in helping me. No paperwork that I was supposed to have right away, nothing.
They didn't say, here, take this CA1, fill it out, and this form and that form. They just completely left you on your own with no education on how to do this.
Absolutely not.
The supervisors should know how to do it and say, here's what you do. You already had a nasty fall working for us. Here's what you should do. Don't take it personally, because that's what they do almost every single time. Those are the stories that we hear from every single patient. The only time we don't hear that story is when a person hurts themselves and a patient of ours, who happens to be a supervisor, will say to them, hey, go see Dr. Dorfman. Because they know what to do, because they've been through it personally, they know what to do, and they want to help you out. Like other patients of ours that have referred so many other people because they know the process and because they've been through it themselves. I think the problem really starts when a person becomes a supervisor. They don't say to them, congratulations, you're now a supervisor, but with that position comes more responsibility. Let's give you these videos or here's some weekend classes that we provide to you so you know what to do now as a supervisor. Because if there was, then they would know exactly what to do. A lot of times, honestly, your supervisor doesn't even know. There was no education to them from their superiors on what to do when someone falls down, or when someone is involved in a crash in the postal vehicle, or they are just injuring themselves over time. Maybe you didn't injure yourself on one particular occasion, but other people injure themselves just over time, working there for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. There's no education to that supervisor on what to do.
Right.
And then instead of the supervisor saying to you, I really don't know what to do, so let's do this together. You then get an awful part of their personality whereby you become the enemy. Maybe because they're embarrassed because they don't know what to do, now they don't want to deal with it, and they just want you to just work. So you don't know exactly what percent, where that really comes from, but it's really unfortunate because this is the federal government. When you're working there for years and years, when you fall down, you should be able to get the treatment that you need, because they do offer wonderful insurance. Once you get your claim approved, your visits are paid for 100%. You're not having to pay for anything. You're reimbursed for your travel expenses, which is wonderful for a lot of people because they do travel long distances to come see me. You get treatment as long as you need it. It's very different than regular workers' comp. Your employer and the insurance company make you feel important. They send you right to the doctor, and they allow you some visits, whether it be physical therapy, medical, chiropractic. They give you a handful of visits and they make you feel important. But after a handful of visits, what's really going on behind the scenes is they want you back to work. They want you back to work now, and they don't want to pay for your medical care. The doctor you're seeing is really working for the employer, not really for you. The doctor is really working for them because they get all those referrals from the workers' comp insurance. They want to do a good job in their eyes by seeing you just a handful of times and then getting you back to work full time. That's what happens in regular workers' comp. However, in federal workers' comp, it's completely different. They'll pay for you. As long as you're injured, as long as you are expressing your injury, as long as we're documenting your injury, they will pay for you for years.
Yeah.
And that's a great thing because people are significantly injured at times. But it's just a paperwork headache, and a lot of doctors just don't want to do it.
Right.
So anyway, you went to the ER. After that, how did you find us?
I got online and just started Googling who accept workman's
Okay.
comp, and I didn't know at the point to look federal workman's comp.
Right.
So everybody that suggested different doctors, when I would speak with them, they no longer accepted workman's comp or federal workman's comp, whatever it was at that point. But I think I started to fill out your information online and never finished because back in my head I'm thinking it's possibly a scam and you're just looking for my info.
Right.
So I stopped, and then you called me almost immediately.
Because when you do get to our website, you're putting in your name, your telephone number, and your email address. And that goes right to me, and I'm usually sitting at my desk. When I get that in my email, I call immediately.
Yes.
Myself, I don't have a member of my staff call. I call myself because I want the patient to know that you finally reached the right place. And I want you to feel nice and warm and comfortable that, believe it or not, you did call a place that does specialize in federal workers' comp. And I know in my mind, when that patient comes into the office, for example, you're going to see all of our posters. You're going to see Chris and Ginny on the video doing their Wednesday night chats.
Yep.
You're going to know the moment you get here that, wow, we really do federal workers' comp. But when I meet you initially on the telephone, I want to interview you a little bit, ask you what happened, provide you a little bit of information. But then what I do is I say to you, okay, I'm going to have one of my case managers contact you, interview you over the telephone, get more details, find out what paperwork you have filled out already versus what you need to fill out, because we want your first visit here to be very simple. So you come in, see the nurse practitioner, she does her exam, and then we get you in for physical therapy and massage therapy, whatever you need, even on that same day.
Yep.
But that's when you left your name, your phone number. That's how I contact you. When I call, I don't want it to be a sales call. I automatically say, you left your name, your phone number, your email address on my website, and that's why I'm calling. Sometimes I'll call people and they'll deny it. They'll say, no, I didn't. And I say, yes, you did. And that's why I'm calling. If you don't want to talk to me, that's okay. I do federal workers' comp. That's why you left your information there. If you want to call me back, you're more than welcome to. So that's how we met, right there on the website. Before you came in, you did get a phone call from our case managers?
Correct.
And then she interviewed you over the telephone?
Correct.
What kind of information did she give you?
basically what we just talked about, what happened with the accident, what I've done and what I haven't done.
How were you feeling before you contacted us emotionally? How were you feeling working or not working, maybe not getting your bills paid, getting the runaround from everyone at the post office? How did that make you feel?
I was terrified, absolutely terrified,
Okay.
because I'm a single person and it's my income that takes care of my bills.
Right.
And so when you did call me back, I cried because I
Okay.
finally found, I'm gonna cry now, because I finally found somebody that knew what I was doing and how to help me.
Okay. And I love that about federal workers comp, because you're a bunch of wonderful people that just want to work.
Yeah.
And you just want to work. You're not suing anybody. You just want to work. And when you injure yourselves because of work, you deserve help. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of doctors out there because of the paperwork headaches. But I really enjoy it because every single person who walks in this door is just another person who wants to work, sees the light at the end of the tunnel, your retirement, and just wants to get there. And none of us know, including myself, how hard you working for the post office. When we're in our house and we see you drive by and put our mail in our mailbox, we don't know what you've been through all day long. Someone else didn't put that mail in your mail truck. You did. And those boxes and putting them on top of each other and figuring out where you're going.
It's very overwhelming.
It's a lot more than we know.
Yeah.
Ever since I started doing this at Christmas time, I'm always standing outside my mailbox, waiting for my mail person to come by so I can give them whatever I give at Christmas time, which
Yeah.
I never did, but now I know how much work goes into just delivering them out.
Right.
So emotionally, you were going through so much
Yes.
because you weren't getting anything done. You weren't getting any treatment. Your injuries are probably getting worse. And then you finally met us. You were interviewed by our case manager. You then saw our nurse practitioner. And then how was that meeting with our nurse practitioner?
It was great.
Okay.
Physically not feeling better yet, but emotionally starting to feel better. Like I was finally getting somewhere. I finally had some type of direction in the next step.
When a person comes here, as long as you're treating and you're showing to the Department of Labor your injury, they have no problem when we want to refer you for an MRI, when we want to refer you to the orthopedic doctor, when we want to refer you somewhere, as long as you're treating
Right.
and showing to them that you're injured, we've never had a problem ever with a referral. So that's another, again, great thing about federal workers comp is we don't have to deal with, like in regular workers comp, the referral process. The referral process in regular workers comp is impossible, whereby in federal workers comp, it's quite simple. As long as you're coming in for your treatment, showing the Department of Labor that you are injured, when we refer you for an MRI, it's just automatically taken care of. When we refer you to the orthopedic doctor, automatically taken care of. And what we do is we make sure that we take care of all the paperwork. We don't leave it for the orthopedic office to figure out because they really don't know how to do it.
Right.
But that's okay. They will treat you because they do accept federal workers comp, but we tee it up for them. We make sure that we're the ones that are filling out all the paperwork because we don't want you to go to the orthopedic doctor and then have problems. So we make sure that we're in close communication with the orthopedic office because we want them to see you. And as long as there's orthopedic doctors out there willing to see you, we want to make it as easy as possible. And we know how to do the paperwork. So instead of just referring you on over to the orthopedic doctor and having them fill out, we try our best to work with their case managers to make sure that we're taking care of everything. And so how are you doing now in the office? Emotionally, how are you doing emotionally?
Emotionally, a lot better. Still dealing with more tests and more procedures, more things to try to make me better. But the process has gotten a lot easier, and I'm learning what I need to do to make that process easier too.
We're going to get you there.
Yes.
We're going to get you to the finish line. And we're just going to continue to do what we do best, which is just treating federal workers' comp patients.
And I appreciate you guys so much.
And we appreciate you being a patient. All right.